We continue this week and this off season for the Utah Hockey Club as we get ready to get you guys to know about your NHL club. We're going to talk about goaltenders today on Locked On NHL in Utah.
You are Locked On NHL in Utah, your daily podcast on all things hockey in Utah, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On NHL in Utah, your number one daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club. I am your host, Robyn Leonio, alongside Tom Callahan. We want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every single day. We are free and available everywhere you get your shows. We are continuing our off-season content as we help you all get to know who is on your team and who is going to be a part of this Utah Hockey Club, who's going to play major factors this upcoming inaugural season and in the years to come, Tom. And we're talking goaltenders today as well as tomorrow. Get everyone to get to know who's going to be those netminders, who is the final line of defense for this team.
Well, you got to know who's in net, because without a goalie, it's all empty netters, and that's just too easy for the other team. So, you know what? It's a great topic. I think that where Utah is in net is a place of interest. There are a lot of ways we can go with this, and we'll look at both goaltenders talking about it. But just from the specifics, they are below the league average in what they're spending on the cap. It's $4.675 million for both goaltenders, Karel Vejmelka and Connor Ingram. So from that standpoint, Utah is in good financial shape. And I know we talk all the time about their cap space, but that's a nice place to be. The goaltenders are young. Vejmelka's 28. Ingram is 27. I know we're going to focus on Connor Ingram right now, but just I wanted to kind of look at both those goaltenders. So the setup right now for Utah, I think, is a good one with young goaltenders. And we've seen lately goaltenders maturing later. It used to be that, if you had a prospect between 22 and 24, if they didn't pan out, you would give them the old heave ho. Now we see goaltenders breaking in late 20s, even sometimes early 30s is when we really see them playing their absolute best hockey. So these guys, if that is the case, they are just starting to near the peak of their play here in the next several seasons.
You're absolutely right, and you could just see based off their both of their trajectories, and I could think it's good to talk grand scheme. Take a look at the wide scope of things to start off with before getting into any specifics about these goaltenders, because you're right, they're both young on that younger side for goalies in their later 20s. I've made this comment multiple times before, Tom. Forwards usually they peak around their mid 20s, and they're consistently getting better. They have a really wide range of peak and develop a lot quicker than the rest. Defensemen take a significant chunk longer. They probably might not get to their peak until their later 20s to early 30s, and then goalies are even longer. So it's like the further back on the ice you go, the longer it takes for these guys to develop. I mean, it makes sense, right? There are less players of those available to be able to do it. A lot of goalies sometimes have to spend their first several years in the ECHL sometimes. And I feel like, both of these players getting a really good shot. And Connor Ingram, I think, I guess, does he have much minor league experience? I don't think he does. But I know he started with Nashville for a while, and I think he might have been with Milwaukee.
He did, as a matter of fact. So Chicago Wolves, Milwaukee Admirals, even Syracuse Crunch time in the American League. He did spend some time in the coast. That was with the Adirondack Thunder, but that was only a cup of coffee. But that was over since the 27-18 season with Syracuse is where he made his debut coming out of junior hockey with Kamloops. Didn't really crack an NHL lineup till 21-22 with the Preds, but it was only 3 games at that point. He spent most of the year in Milwaukee. the 54 starts there. So yeah, he's got a pretty good chunk of time in the American League, which I like. I like for a goaltender. I think developing in the American Hockey League is a good spot for you. We see the Buffalo Sabres doing it with Devin Levi right now, and other teams are doing it with their goaltenders. We've kind of gone back to that. I think we just left an era of two things. Number one, kind of overpaying starting goaltenders. And I say that as a goalie. You see my mask right there over my shoulder. But I think goaltenders were a little overpaid. Bobrovsky is a great example of that. And now if he wins a cup, no one's going to bat an eye at it. But $10 million is not what you can spend on two goalies, let alone one anymore. And the other thing is not rushing these kids, letting them develop into adults, letting them mature into the position, getting them the experience they need. And I like that because I think it's going to end up with a lot more fully developed athletes and goaltenders across the league.
I would rather definitely over season a goalie in the minors than rush them in. And I think we've seen scenarios of that where they rush in and they just kind of either they might look great for the first couple of games, but then they'll flame out pretty darn quickly.
It's called getting the book, right? When no one's seen you, they don't know what the book on you is. And so once they figure out as a goaltender, oh, the book is high glove, the book is low blocker, the book is lateral movement, whatever it is. Once people figure that out, then they start to exploit it.
Yeah, and with this Utah franchise, there were several goalies who tried to get a good look and just either never made it. Maybe they just weren't part of the system. Not that they overseasoned too much. Maybe things just didn't work out. I feel like we've seen, like with the Utah and previously Arizona franchise, we saw a lot kind of move in and out. Tom, I'm pretty sure you can remember, the first couple years of Adin Hill in Tucson as an example, right? He looked great. First couple years in the NHL looked great. First couple games, I should say. But I feel like and one of the things that what I was told and kind of through the grapevine with a player like him is he got his chance too early. So anytime they got sent down, it kind of made things worse for him in terms of at least mentality wise. Let them spend too much time, like spend enough time down there. It kind of maybe it humbles themselves a little bit. Plus, get better. They get significantly better.
The mental game is just as, I'll say, even more important than the physical game, especially for a goaltender, because you really have to be thinking. It's more like chess for a goaltender because you have to play out not only where guys are, where they're going, where the puck is going, where all the threats are on the ice. This is constantly going through your head and you're calculating this all the time. If that is disturbed, that process, you're going to have a harder time stopping the puck. I don't care how physically gifted you are. If you don't have the brain game going, you're in trouble. And I agree. I think Hill was a victim of that. I think he did get in his own head at times. Now he ended up winning the Stanley Cup with Vegas last season. However, I will say Adin Hill and even, this year, Logan Thompson and Adin Hill and whoever they would have put in there had to be slightly above average because Vegas was so good defensively. And again, we talk about those kinds of teams, puck possession teams and teams that get in front of shots. And we talk about Florida, versus Edmonton, and Florida is that kind of team. And I think when we saw Edmonton win the other night in that game 4, they finally kind of broke through that a little bit. And quite honestly, it didn't matter if Bob was spectacular or not. I think Edmonton's winning that game, but that's a little bit more on the rare side of the breakthrough. So if you have a team in front of you that has a solid defense, you can have goaltenders. And we're going to get into the numbers here on Connor Ingram, and I want to talk about it, but also when we do the next episode on Vejmelka, kind of where they are with numbers. I'm not a big advanced statistics guy, but I have a couple numbers I think are interesting that I wanted to talk about. But I think that, Utah's first award winner is a good place to start the conversation.
Utah's first award winner, Connor Ingram, the 2023-24 Bill Masterton Trophy award winner. So good for him on that. We're going to talk about Connor Ingram right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes it easier to buy tickets, even faster and easier. Prices in the Game Time app usually go down the closer it gets to the beginning of the event, with killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seats, their lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying your tickets to all kinds of events in your area, from NBA tickets, MLB tickets, NHL tickets, and even beyond sports, comedy shows, concerts, and more. With the app feature, customize your spot. You can take a look, maybe find some inspiration of what exactly you want to look for. Once again, the last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing, easy to find and buy tickets for all kinds of events with the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And we'll keep things rolling on this episode of Locked On NHL in Utah. We're getting you guys ready for the upcoming season, introducing some of the players to you guys. We're talking goalies today and tomorrow. Let's get to talking about Connor Ingram, Tom, because Ingram is a unique case because I feel like the first couple of years in the NHL, he struggled a lot with Nashville. And it didn't look great for him. That's why he tried to get a better opportunity with Arizona. First couple games, not the best, especially because completely new place. He didn't know where he's going, but he's really improved in just the last 2 seasons he's been with Arizona and now upcoming with Utah.
So 2 years with the Coyotes, 27 games in 22-23, and then up to 50 last year. And again, the Masterton Award winner only had 3 with Nashville, but didn't post the best numbers at that point. 371 goals against, 879 save percentage, not sparkling. The last 2 years, he's had a 907 save percentage. His goals against has gotten a little bit better. The particulars on Connor, he's 6'2". 196. So Canadian boy from Saskatoon. He was drafted by Tampa Bay originally, 3rd round and the 88th pick in the 2016 draft. So he's bounced around a little bit. And I think some guys, it gets in your head when you go to 2 and 3 teams. Some players, I don't think that affects at all. Some players, it really starts to bother them. But I think Ingram has found a home with this organization, with Utah. Last year, I think he had a much better season, not only on the ice, but also I think kind of getting over some stuff off it. And obviously we talked about that in the Masterton Trophy win. Big year for him. 50 games. He's never played 50 games. Yep. Started 48 of those games. So, and 23 wins, 23, 21, and 3 on an Arizona team that was below the average, I think, on a lot of nights. And a 2.91 goals against is not that bad. I don't mind that for him. A couple of the, I guess, I don't want to get off in the weeds on the advanced stats. I'm not huge on it, but this I thought was really interesting. So for him, his expected goals against per 60 minutes, 2.89 and a 2.74. Those are actually not bad numbers. And his goal saved above expected is slightly to the positive, over 0. So that's a good sign. The other thing that's a good sign is his goals saved above expected went up from a 0.17 to a 0.38. So better than doubled for him in this last season with the Arizona Coyotes. I think that is a good sign, especially now. And look, again, we're going to talk about this, but retooling the defense right now for Utah is going to be big. If they can provide a little more support for their goaltenders and a little bit stouter defense and take care of their own zone a little bit better, I think that there is a lot of potential for Ingram to continue to grow, continue to be more comfortable, and really grow his game.
And you know what I really like about that, and I think what's helping him go his game, and we'll talk about it more when we get to talking about Vejmelka later on. But it's the fact that those two are essentially competing in a way. They're trying to say maybe who might get the more starts. They are a tandem, so who's going to be the 1A, 1B? And I felt like that's what worked, right? I think we're getting past, and I feel like if there were times in which, like in a goalie, and I'll say, maybe even Arizona as an example previously, where they went so much with one goaltender, that person was assumed as the starter, and maybe they just got complacent and they didn't get the opportunity. That guy gets injured, backup comes in, and he now knows this is his shot. He's going to fight for it, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing. But instead of a starter backup situation, it's a tandem situation, and I feel like that is what has significantly benefited Connor Ingram.
What was interesting this year is there were a lot of teams that used 3 goalies during the year, and even in the playoffs, we've seen that a little bit. Guys are getting hurt. I mean, durability is a question now for anyone. I think guys train so much and so hard that they push themselves so much physically. There is more chance, more liability to get hurt when you're out there on the ice. And I think that is also something that these guys have to be mindful of. In today's NHL, you need a 1A, 1B. I don't think you have higher odds of success by going with a 1 and a 2 anymore. Now, there's some teams that still follow that. Teams, obviously, with a big-time number 1, like a Bobrovsky, although look at Florida, as I mentioned. But, again, Florida conserves their goaltender by taking care of their own zone. Tampa Bay is another team that famously does that. But everybody else, I mean, it's a little bit of committee. Even Boston, Swayman and Ullmark, were back and forth. Last year, they were the best team historically in the NHL. I mean, an unbelievable season, and they rotated, and even going into the playoffs. But, some teams are able to have the luxury of that true number 1 guy with a support behind them. I just don't know if that model works in the long run. So the fact that right now, the way Utah's set up with this 1A, 1B, I think is pretty encouraging.
It really does. And I feel like, that the previous franchise with Arizona, I think might have been I don't want to say the guinea pig, because I think that's not the correct term I want to say here. So I guess set the example and set the tone from them. We don't want to make the same mistake of having a 1-2 or like a true starter, true backup for their system. Because you take a look at just a few years ago, we're talking pre Vejmelka, pre Connor Ingram, in that era, we're talking the Darcy Kemper, Antti Ranta, Aiden Hill era. Like, sure, 3 goalies, and it almost seemed like it might have been a tandem, but their mistake was starting Darcy Kemper back to back games. I think it was almost 15, 20 straight games in a row. He's gonna get injured. Then they did the same thing with Ranta. He's gonna get injured. Then Aiden Hill comes in, starts 12 games in a row, gets injured, and for a very short period of time, that forces Ivan Prosvetov to come in. You don't make that mistake again, and I think that's why you have a 1A, 1B, is so you can focus on load management to keep your guys as healthy as they can be, so your team's not going to have to fall back to your 4th string goaltender down the road.
We're not going to see the days of the Grant Fuhrs or even the Glenn Halls. Those days are gone. We're past that now, and you do have to manage the workload. And I think giving a guy 15 starts in a row, while that goalie is never going to say no because they're a competitor as an athlete, that's what a coach is there to do. You're a coach X's and O's, but you're also a manager. You're also a psychologist. You're there trying to make sure that everybody gets their playing time. And plus, the other thing is, too, when you're the other goaltender who doesn't play for 12 straight games, you get rusty just sitting there. I mean, you cannot simulate a game in practice. So the other thing is, when you have to turn back to the other guy, and you will at some point, they're not sharp either. So I wouldn't be a fan of that one. I can't think of a goaltender for this franchise who's really carried them in that kind of way, literally since Mike Smith. Mike Smith was really the last guy to be able to bear that kind of everyday starting load, but even he got some breaks.
Yeah, you're right. And so, and I think that's kind of, again, going into what we're seeing now is these guys are able to get their, keep their workload simple and keep it easy, play game, and, keep it spread out so they're healthy, so they're able to be always on top, at the top of their game. And it's really working for Connor Ingram. And I feel like, he has a lot to grow. I want to talk about his growth too, Tom, and we're going to kind of say what role he has in the future for this Utah Hockey Club franchise. We'll do that right after this. So let's keep things rolling on this episode of Locked On NHL in Utah. We are talking goalies for the rest, for at least this middle part of the week. It's Wednesday now. We're continuing to talk about Connor Ingram, Tom, and honestly, I think we're talking about what's coming up for the future of him. I think both the goalies again don't have a huge, a lot of length left on their contracts, but they're. I feel like with the team has been confident in them that they might, they could see themselves as a member of the Utah Hockey Club for a little bit longer period of time down the road, and as they secure themselves as the guys for Utah.
Yeah, and the other thing about Ingram is he's in the second year of a 3-year deal. He's only $1.95 million, so he is actually the cheaper of the two goaltenders. There are some people who would look at the money straight up and say, well, he's got to be your 1B, right? Not necessarily. Again, you're at 4.65 for two goalies, you're fine. You're not at $5 million for two guys. Now look, Vejmelka has to compete as well, and as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, it is a competition. But for Connor Ingram, I think where he's at is a good spot. He's paid reasonably enough where there's no reason to rush on from him. Plus, as I mentioned, he got a little bit more than half of the games last year.
Yeah, you get the majority of the workload.
I think they want to see if he's the guy. So he got 50 last year. And honestly, that is a 1A workload. 50, maybe 55, but I think 55 in today's game might even be pushing it a little bit. But he needs to continue to develop. And I think that's the other thing too, is the goaltending coaches and then the way you use a goaltender within a system. I'll be very interested to see the continued development of Utah Hockey Club on the ice, because I feel like they were really starting to get the buy-in with Andre Tourigny. I know that we just saw, Columbus cleaned house. The Blue Jackets are looking for a new head coach, and there's a couple other guys who've been looking for jobs here. And it's an interesting summer, but honestly, I actually kind of like that Utah is this settled in net. And I think that it's a good spot for them to be. They play very well at home. If you look at the splits, Ingram is a better goaltender at home, but then again, Arizona was a better team at home. So there was a home ice advantage to Mullet Arena, at least as far as the numbers go. And I think that too, the other thing with this guy this year is that, he's a 20-win goalie now. He's 23, 21, and 3. That's a pretty good split. 6 shutouts, also very impressive. That's a really big number of games to allow nothing in the NHL. So, you know what? I think his trajectory is upward. And as I mentioned, he's coming in. He's 27 right now. He just turned 27 in March. So he's got some time to really hit that peak, maybe 3 seasons down the road. And even if by 3 seasons down the road, you're paying him $3.5-4 million, that's still a bargain.
And by that time, this Utah Hockey Club team will be a competitive playoff team. I think that's kind of what my projection is. And again, maybe things could change and maybe it gets delayed. But based off of the trajectory right now, Connor Ingram can very well be, one of, I can even maybe even see him as the 1A guy for a playoff Utah Hockey Club.
Absolutely. And again, we just keep saying it, but if you're new to the show, I keep repeating it, so maybe you haven't heard it yet.
For the everydayers, you know this, but if you're not, if you're new, welcome in.
Yes, absolutely. And don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe and follow us and interact with us on social. But man, this team this year is the year they get into that playoff satellite capacity.
Yeah.
You know, they're orbiting the 7-8 spots. They are right there. They're knocking on the door. With a little bit of luck, and if things go your way, you could get in. But they need to be there making that push this year, and I think they are ready to take that step.
They are ready, and they have the goaltenders to do it. Again, with Connor Ingram, we're going to talk about Vejmelka and later on. But with Ingram, you're right. I just have that confidence that I feel like they found their guy, and I feel like Utah is feeling that way too, because you take a look at how things have gone in the past. Look, the last couple years they were, Arizona at the time, they were still in early rebuild, and their 1A, 1B was still Vejmelka was still part of it. So they still saw him as a part of the future, but the other one was Scott Wedgwood. He played so well, but they unloaded them for assets because they needed that for rebuild. They're out of that part now. They don't need that. And they're like, you know what? We're comfortable here. We'll stick with Connor Ingram.
That's right. And if you are going to pick up assets at this point, you're going to have to do it with the cap space that you have. I think that would be the way to build. They are set. Again, Utah's got draft picks, just lousy with them this year, next year. I think that they're in a really good spot as far as being able to continue to acquire and build. And when we talk about guys under team control on their entry-level deals, that's where you're getting your greatest value for players before they hit RFA status. That's where you have to really kind of cash in. And I think that Utah is set up to be able to capitalize on that. Now, they still have some players to sign and they have a defense to build, but I really like where they are right now. And I think that having both of these guys locked up in net, absolutely huge.
Absolutely huge. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Vejmelka coming on for tomorrow's episode. So you guys will definitely want to stay locked in to Locked On NHL in Utah. But that's going to be it for this part of our goalie talk, talking about Connor Ingram. Once again, if you like what you heard, go to leave a review, leave a comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your shows. Interact with us on social media too. You can find us on X at LO_NHL Utah. I am at Robyn_Leano. Tom Callahan is at Callahan on air. Ask us a question you might have, and we might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On NHL in Utah podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning to this part of this two-part series talking goalies, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.